These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Reckless speculation.
All right, a happy Reckless Speculation Thursday to all who celebrate. We got our guy Darren Doogie Wolfson in the house from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department, where we are going to look forward into the summer here on behalf of the Timberwolves, whose season came to an embarrassing end. 2 straight Game 5 Western Conference Finals halftimes where you're down by 30 in that locker room. So we'll put it to bed, and we will look forward and try to decipher what may or may not happen in the next 6 weeks. A massive summer for the Timberwolves. Federated Insurance is here helping to power this Reckless Speculation Thursday. Federated's been around for 120 years helping businesses. They measure the success of their business by the success of your business. It's a true partnership, face-to-face, eye-to-eye, value-added customer service that focuses on safety, preventing claims, and risk management. So if you want to find out how Federated can be a great partner for your business, go to federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. Darren.
Reckless Speculation.
Happy Reckless Speculation Thursday.
Happy Reckless Speculation Thursday, the last of May, so make it count.
Yeah. So if you're Tim Connolly, assuming Tim Connolly exercises his option to jump back in as the leader of the Wolves front office, because that is a question mark, I guess, that lingers this summer. I think he's going to, but where do you start? How do you factor in what happened in that series, what happened in Game 5, not overreact, but also take advantage of a 23-year-old blossoming superstar who just confirmed last night, no one's outworking me in the gym this summer. I have all the motivation I need. Where do you start in your office if you're Tim Connolly right now?
Well, I mean, I think, Phil, he already had that motivation. I thought he wore down in the Western Conference Finals, especially on the defensive end. And, hey, I'll give him credit. Like, to me, this is the best shape that Ant has been in. Heck, you think about the Olympics run. It's been a long run of basketball for Ant, but I thought he wore down the last week plus. And so his conditioning needs to take another level. On Tim Connolly, you say exercise his option. I think it'll be a new contract. I do think signs point to, with Mark Lowry, Alex Rodriguez set to take over with this official Board of Governors approval forthcoming, that Tim is back, although I do think the Nuggets' interest is genuine. And so it's still worth monitoring. But, yeah, I do think Tim will be back. I just think it'll be with a new contract, so some sort of extension. Okay, how do you get past OKC? When you think about the next couple years, Phil, how exactly is OKC slowing down? They are not even in the luxury tax. Think about that. Now, eventually you pay Chet Holmgren, you pay Jalen Williams. They have a point guard that sat out this entire year that is said to be a really good prospect, that is healthy for next year. They have all these draft assets. Like, how exactly do you get past OKC? Tim Connolly constructed a team here that was good enough to get past Denver. Well, guess what? Now you need to figure out how to get past OKC. So what exactly does that look like? Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and he's already spoken this morning. So the Wolves are already doing exit media interviews. They began at 8:50.
How about that, dude? That morning, that PR email came in at like 1 a.m. Said, "Hey, 8 a.m, everyone.
We're ready to go right now. Just get down to Target Center."
Like they're like the writers haven't even gotten back from OKC last night, right? So
not even close. Yeah. So I mean, that's why a lot of them were asking some of the forward-thinking questions late into the evening on Wednesday. But yeah, looking at the schedule, I don't see Anthony Edwards' name on the schedule. I also don't see Tim Connolly's name. Now, Tim maybe does something later on. Hey, they're doing some of these pre-draft workouts. Not that they publicly announce those, although they'll actually announce the day of the prospects working up. But maybe at some point pre-draft, Tim Connolly makes himself available. But yeah, I mean, guys are already talking. So Nickeil Alexander-Walker's already been at the podium. He said all the right things. Hey, of course, I need to consider being back here in Minnesota. But if you're asking me, Phil, of all the guys, like, who do you feel most confident about not being back? It's Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I will miss him greatly. I enjoy the conversations with him when he's in front of the microphone. Just a good dude. I've heard a lot of good things about him as a human being behind the scenes. He has earned this opportunity to go sign a 4-year full mid-level contract somewhere else. There are enough fans of Nickeil Alexander-Walker in the league, including Gerson Rosas with the Knicks, but I'm aware of others too. So good for Nickeil. Like, he's the one more than anyone else I see elsewhere. Naz Reid told my colleague Chris Long in the locker room late last night he would love to be back. He said the same thing at the podium this morning. I've long thought Naz is going to be back. You are looking at a contract that will be at least $30 to $33 million a year. The Wolves are fully aware of this. And if you think that's absurd, look at OG Anunoby, look at some of these other contracts across the league. That is the going rate for a player like Naz Reid. I see Naz back. Okay, the elephant in the room, Julius Randle, player option. The Nets and Pistons. The Pistons have a pathway to create more space. The Nets have all sorts of cap space. Yet to hear of legit Nets interest in Julius Randle, unaware of the Pistons having interest in Julius Randle. It's in Julius's best interests to exercise the player option, come back here at nearly $31 million. I am sure, Phil, he wants a contract extension. That's what the Wolves need to weigh. I'm sure behind the scenes they have. I've not heard of anything being leaked. But I'm sure Julius's camp would love to sign a contract extension here. He freaking loves it here. He loves playing for Chris Finch. He loves the fact that this team is knocking on the door of winning the Western Conference, truly competing for a championship. But he's an expiring contract. If you don't sign him to an extension, that is a great trade chip. I do think Mike Conley Jr., it's an unofficial no trade clause, a handshake agreement entering the final year of his deal. But we're looking at Mike Conley Jr. playing 18 to 20 minutes a night next year. So to me, more than anything, I believe they need somebody who has Rob Dillingham's skill set with better size and better decision-making. But somebody that can put the ball on the floor, penetrate, get to the basket. I do think you'll hear some Darius Garland steam at some point. Like, we know Tim Connolly is willing to make big moves. And so that would be an interesting name. I don't know if the Cavs end up moving him. Like, the Cavs absolutely could run things back, even though they'll be in the second apron. But if I'm the Cavs, after that regular season you had, maybe you give it one more try. But I do think the Cavs are a team worth watching. Hey, we know Tim was somewhat interested in De'Aaron Fox before he went to San Antonio. So I'm just saying, like, they are going to be active in that Wolves front office. But to me, it's all about finding a way. I don't know what all the answers are right in this moment, but it's finding a way to get past OKC, because I just don't know how OKC isn't about to go on a lengthy run. Like, to me, they're winning the championship in a couple weeks, and they are well positioned to win multiple championships over the next few years.
So if you are Conley too, on Julius in particular, he opts back in. Do you then look to trade him immediately? Because I will say this, if I look at this series now in retrospect, and I'm Conley, and Dukes, I think that you nailed the question, which is, how do I get past them? I think the current roster construction is probably not it. So, like, for all guys might like to play here and like Finch and want to be here, on Julius in particular, how quickly do you look to spin him off? Because that series, and we talked about this extensively on the postgame Flagrant Howls last night, left an indelible impression that I don't think I can get past about what Julius means or doesn't mean to this roster in against an opponent like OKC.
Well, even think about this. So Naz is about to make minimum what Julius is set to make next year. Can you really have somebody coming off the bench at $31 million, give or take a little bit? But
sure,
does that make any sense? And I get it. Finishing means more than starting, all that. But I'm just saying, on the surface,
right,
having two $31 million a year forwards with one coming off the bench, explain how that makes sense to me. Yeah, I think if Naz is back, Julius is an incredible trade chip. That's your pathway to get that player that I just explained. Somebody that has a lot of what Rob Dillingham can do, but with more size, and who isn't going to turn the ball over, a ton of times.
I'm going to float a name, and we might expand on this tomorrow because I saw a Feedback Friday question come in, but I'd love to run it by you here. Tyus Jones feels like, I'm not saying he's the answer. Like Darius Garland is a high volume scorer. Like he could come in and pour in 20 points a game, be a secondary. He could be a running mate with Ant. I could see that. Tyus Jones wouldn't be a running mate with Ant, but if you brought in Tyus Jones and then figured out what you're doing at the big positions, he's 29 years old. He played because the way the NBA was set up with teams not wanting to go into the second apron, first apron, there was no market for a lot of really good players. So he wound up taking a huge pay cut and playing for a $2 million vet minimum deal 1 year with the Suns last year. But he's 29, excellent, responsible facilitator and point guard and ball handler, never turns the ball over. He's become a dead-eye three-point shooter, just a good organizer of offense. Could you see a world where Tyus Jones comes back to the Timberwolves, 25, 30 minutes a night, Conley comes off the bench for 18 minutes a night, and at least you've got two reliable veteran ball handlers who can initiate offense and take something off Anthony Edwards' plate?
I think you need to swing and miss on a couple other fronts. I will tell you, there's still people over at Mayo Clinic Square who have a healthy opinion of Tyus Jones. Tyus's main house, no surprise, this is home, is in the West Metro. He's got a beautiful house in the West Metro. This is home. He spends a good chunk of the summer here in the Twin Cities. I think Dallas, I do, with Kyrie out, with Cooper Flagg, Duke connection, with Derek Lively, Duke connection. Like, to me, Dallas makes a good amount of sense with Jason Kidd as head coach. I wouldn't be shocked on that front. But yes, I would absolutely have him on the radar. Now, he doesn't solve some of those things I explained, but the decision-making, I mean, he's an assist-to-turnover ratio king, him and Mike Conley Jr., right? And his three-point shooting, his leadership, Tyus would bring so much to the table. So, yes, position of need and the obvious connection to here, yes, I would absolutely have him on any sort of list. As you're concocting all sorts of scenarios heading into early July, Tyus needs to be somewhere on your list. But I don't know if I put him at the very top.
Dukes, there was clearly in the aftermath of the game last night a lot of passion, a lot of heated passion, including including from fans on Chris Finch. Okay, so as a hoops head and a person that covers this team, give me your current state of Chris Finch. And I am in no way saying he should be fired. I don't think his job is in trouble. But give me your current thoughts on how he coached in this series in particular, and your thoughts on the state of him as the coach. Because I do think it becomes a talker with the fan base constantly about Chris Finch is either really good and a genius or just a idiot who can't coach.
Well, I'll tell you this much. I mean, when thinking about the Wolves taking that next step, having guys with better basketball IQs is a part of that. Well, the head coach is part of that. Developing smart players, guys that make quick decisions, spacing, knowing what to do. I just think the Wolves' overall basketball IQ, it's not horrible, but it needs to be significantly better. Like OKC, I get it. Youngest team to make the finals since 1977. But in terms of basketball IQ, that's a really smart, connected team. I don't always see that with the Wolves. We can point to clutch time fiascos, right? And the Wolves failing miserably, especially early in the season, and some issues last year. Wolves in clutch time. Well, that could be on the head coach. But then I can turn around and say, okay, he made Cat with Gobert work. He made Randle eventually work here. Like, he went to bat. He's a big reason why Julius Randle is here. And so there's enough to like about Chris. He tried some things against OKC. Like, Denver ran a good amount of zone against OKC with success. Well, we saw a bunch of zone games 1 and 2. The Wolves tried it. It just didn't work. So then game 3, we actually saw just about zero zone defense. But I thought the Wolves tried some things against OKC, just failed miserably. Yeah, bottom line, Judd, Mark and Alex have very healthy opinions of Chris. I don't get the sense they are ready to cut a big fat check to fire him, to bring in Mike Malone or Taylor Jenkins or someone else. Like, I don't know. Do you think Mike Malone is taking this team beyond Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals, or Taylor Jenkins? And it's a good chunk of change. Like, Chris Finch signed a lucrative multi-year extension last spring. But I get it. We can have the conversation about Chris needing to get better. I still think overall, though, he's a top 10 coach in the league.
Yeah, there's so many. If Tim Connolly knows Mike Malone better than anyone, right? He was with him for almost a decade. He put him in that spot, or was part of the front office to put him in that spot as a head coach. So if Tim Connolly decides, here's 3 reasons why Mike Malone will be a better fit for Anthony Edwards in this team than Chris Finch, then I say, okay, cool. Like, that makes sense. If Tim Connolly, given this opportunity, decides to roll forward with Chris Finch, I think that says something about how he views Finch compared to Mike Malone, right? Another thing, Doogie, for you. So Rudy Gobert is an interesting case here because his new contract starts, and it's like a 3-year deal for, instead of making $45+ million, it's more in that 30-ish range.
He did take a little bit of a cut. I mean, that is, worth noting. Yeah.
But he's older. His rebounding rates have plummeted compared to the first year of the contract last year in Utah. He is a huge, huge, huge reason why they went to back-to-back Western Conference Finals, but he's not 28 years old anymore. And when you look at some of the main areas for improvement on this team, and we talked about ball handling and clutch time effectiveness, I would also say that there's too many guys on this team that are just non-factors on offense. And like Rudy Gobert, if you throw him a lob and he's feeling good with his knees, he'll put it in. But dude, Oklahoma City was leaving him wide open in the paint. They were blitzing Anthony Edwards and other ball handlers and saying, cool, if you can get the ball to Rudy, we don't care. We'll come over and defend late, and he'll pirouette his way out of bounds for a turnover. Like, they literally were daring him in the lane to take a dribble and make a shot. So Rudy Gobert, non-factor offensively. Mike Conley, increasingly a non-factor offensively. And the standing in the corner, launching threes, Jaden McDaniels, non-factor offensively. Now, the Jaden McDaniels who was empowered for 2 months with Julius out to be more of an initiator and getting to those mid-range sort of paint places, that's the version of Jaden McDaniels I'm highly interested in. But they've got too many guys that are either one-dimensional or non-factors on offense, and I think that has to change if you want to win a championship.
Agree, and I'm with you. The way Jaden played without Julius, the Wolves are well aware of that. And hey, last night was unfortunate. Like, early in the game, he has multiple wide open corner looks.
Clanks him.
Yeah, clanks him. And
he's a bad corner three-point
felt like
shooter.
At that point, it was going to be a long night. And hey, like I told multiple people at Vikings practice on Wednesday, yeah, okay, the Wolves aren't winning the series. Yeah, I don't even think the Wolves are winning Game 5, but man alive, 8.5 points is a lot. Well, I was wrong on that front. So yeah, you start thinking about those things. I mean, here's the thing. If you can get a Darius Garland type or Darius Garland himself, at that point, do you put Jaden McDaniels on the table or do you not? So that's something to think about, because I think some of us think he's untouchable, but should he truly be untouchable? To me, he's untouchable for Kevin Durant. But if I can get Darius Garland, I might be willing to put Jaden McDaniels on the table. But yeah, I mean, Terrence Shannon Jr. is going to play a lot more next year. He's 24 right now. I think there's a good amount of offensive game to what Terrence Shannon does. TJ, I guess they're calling him now. So that can help. I think Naz playing 35 minutes a night, there's been another offensive level he can get to. But Phil, it goes back to what people in Utah talked about for years. Can you win a championship with Rudy Gobert playing 30-plus minutes a night? Is that possible? And maybe it's not.
Yeah.
It may not be.
It feels like the evidence is very strong throughout the last 10 years that Rudy Gobert raises your floor up to like 40 some, like if you've got competent
yes.
players and bucket
Regular
getters,
season, yes.
you're winning, you're going to the playoffs, and you're probably getting to the second round, maybe even Western Conference Finals if you've got a Donovan Mitchell or in this case, Anthony Edwards, etc. But when you get into these series against teams like Oklahoma City, and I keep going back to it, like they're literally ignoring him in the paint. Not ignoring him at the top of the key like every team does because he's never going to shoot that shot. They're saying, if you catch a pass 7 feet from the basket, we don't think you can score. And we think we can help fast enough because we close so fast as a defense. And you couple the fact that he's going to turn, 33 or whatever. It's going to be 32, 33 years old. The knees, he's not as springy and spry. It's a really interesting crossroads with him. And I have been a staunch defender. That trade worked out magnificently because instead of Anthony Edwards toiling on fringe playoff teams and play-in teams, Rudy Gobert helped Anthony Edwards play 50 playoff games or whatever it is before the age of 24. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at the same ages, 23, 24, was on teams that won 22 and 26 games. And then the playoff experience has come in the last 2 or 3 years. So credit to Rudy Gobert in that trade for expediting this competitive process. But it's I would just say that there's a lot of pieces that are not untouchable for me in the next 6 weeks. And I think Rudy Gobert would certainly be one of those pieces.
Well, I think Tim Connolly agrees for the most part. I don't have specific knowledge on Gobert himself, but just your overall point right there, I sense Tim Connolly agrees wholeheartedly. I'll go back to the Kevin Durant question. Is there any sense that KD elevates Ant to another level? Because if he does, then to me, because I don't know if I would want Kevin Durant, especially for what you would need to give up to get him. But if in the end you feel like KD helps get Ant to first team All-NBA, to MVP, then you probably do it. And I think that's one thing that they're going to have to kick around over at Mayo Clinic Square. And that they have. I mean, they were in on KD. We know that going back to February. That there's a thought that he helps Ant so much. And hey, you're talking about needing another bucket getter or two, being offensively challenged with some of these guys. Well, KD even next year is going to continue to score at a really high level.
Yeah, the defense is gone.
That's what makes this so much fun. Like, I'm catching up with our mutual friend Bobby Marks of ESPN later today. I can't wait to run some of these names by Bobby to start concocting what different scenarios could look like, because I don't have all the information top of my head, apron this and restrictions that, and what the money will look like for the next couple of years. Like, Bobby's got the spreadsheet. He's got all the knowledge, snap of the fingers. But, like, these are names, right? I mean, look at some of the point guards that could be potentially available. Look at Kevin Durant. Like, after you make that cat trade, literally everything is on the table. And knowing they at least kicked the tires with Sacramento on De'Aaron Fox, knowing they had conversations in the winter with Phoenix about Kevin Durant, literally everything outside of Ant being traded, okay? Literally everything else, to me, is absolutely on the table. Even if you would bet right now they're not trading Jaden McDaniels, to me, we can still discuss it, especially on this Reckless Speculation Thursday. But outside of Ant, like, we know Ant is here. Outside of that, to me, anything you throw out at least deserves some level of consideration and discussion.
I think the important thing too, guys, is because we don't in this town have reference points of championship teams, but the Gobert trade got you.
Stop reminding me, Judd.
Right, but here's the thing. Go back and look at the history of certain teams that have built championship teams sort of from the ground up, right? The Gobert trade got you to a very important point, which is, like, you don't necessarily make the Gobert trade saying we are going to win a championship. What you say is we're going to be really damn competitive and we can make a playoff run, right? So, like, if you go back and look, I'm not trying to compare the current Wolves to the Bulls championship teams that became a dynasty, but look at the construction of Jerry Krause's teams. Like, he went and got pieces that fit at the time, and then he upped it and upped it and upped it. And that's where you need an executive with big cojones. Like, the Cat trade to me was a really interesting and savvy trade, because that said Tim Connolly is the scientist who's playing around with the pieces. And in those cases, there's one guy he won't trade, and that's Ant. Other than that, though, and if Gobert is traded, he deserves a pat on the back and a thank you because he played a very important role in getting this team from down here, which is, they might not make the playoffs, to, you're a playoff team, to, you're going to Western Conference Finals now. But that doesn't mean that he's the piece that's going to be here someday if A-Rod and Laurie are handed the LOB by Silver. So I think that's the championship construction. And unfortunately, we just don't know that because we don't see it here.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Tim Connolly has those cojones. Yeah. I do think there would be a Rudy Gobert trade market. Like, you even think about when Utah moved him, a team like Toronto at the time had some interest. I think Toronto, again, would have some level of interest, just to name one team. But, yeah, I mean, I think you could move Rudy if you wanted to. But then what at the center position?
Sure.
Now, are you looking at pick 17, pick 31, adding some size? Probably, if those aren't used as trade chips, if you're going after a Garland or a Durant, or you name another upper echelon player. But, yeah, you start wondering about depth behind Rudy, or I guess maybe it depends on what you get back. But, yeah, I mean, I'm just saying we can't dismiss that possibility. Like everything, literally everything, to me, is in play, right? I wouldn't necessarily have said that this time last year after the Game 5 debacle against Dallas. Like, I thought in that moment when you had home court advantage in the Final Four, you absolutely run things back, then could have made a decision on Cat this summer. But after the move of Cat, everything now is in play. So, yeah, it is going to be a fascinating handful of weeks. There is no denying that.
Judd, before we get to Doogie's scoop bag here, the last minute of rapid fire scoops, let's talk about MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. If you're a free agent looking for a better HVAC system, MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Yeah, you know what? If you've got a great house and you love your house, but let's just say that the AC might be a weak link. It's a good AC, nothing wrong with it, but it ain't going to win a championship. Then you want MSP to come to your home. Right now, it's supposed to be around 90 degrees on Monday. Do you want to try to turn on your AC and it spits and it doesn't work and you're like, what the heck? You want to test that thing out right now. And if it is not up to snuff, call my friends at MSP because they are going to come over and they are going to take care of it. That is guaranteed. Give them a call, 651-615-4292. Check out their website, callmsp.com, or their Facebook page for special offers and events as well. Callmsp.com. Make sure that if your AC is a little bit on the older side, it's big, it's still nice, but it's on the older side, you might want to deal it. You want MSP to be the facilitator of that trade.
Dennis Kirk can be the facilitator for you as a rider during riding season to tap into over 185,000 parts, apparel, and accessories for motorcycles, ATVs, UTVs, dirt bikes, whatever it is that you ride. All the top brands available at DennisKirk.com. Same-day shipping on orders placed before 6 p.m. Central Time, and free shipping on orders over $89. So Dennis Kirk is your home for riding season. All you Ragnars out there looking to let the wind blow through your hair while you rev it up at the stoplight. DennisKirk.com. Doogie, give us 1 minute of rapid-fire scoops here for the road.
All right, well, continuing on the Wolves theme, now that the season is over, we have discussed this going back a while, but there are going to be changes on the business side. With Mark Lowry, Alex Rodriguez coming in, a few people were put in some tough spots. Glenn Taylor, Alex, and Mark. Anyway, there are going to be changes on the business side. The Wolves do have some draft workouts scheduled coming up here, so things are about to ramp up with the calendar flipping to June. The draft at the end of June, the Wolves 2 picks in the top 31, so doing all sorts of diligence. Heck, they were out in Southern California last week, too, for some of these pro days. The Combine was a couple weeks ago in Chicago, some other pro days in Illinois as well, that stretch. So lots of stuff going on with the Wolves. I will add being at Vikings on Wednesday, bonding with Judd. The one thing that jumped out to me, just discussing it with some people, is that Justin Jefferson, this is now, he still has a presence in Louisiana, don't get me wrong. There's been a shift. This is now, home. Like, he is spending a good chunk of the summer, spring and summer, here in the Twin Cities. That is a shift from years past. And so make of that whatever you want to make of it. But Justin Jefferson's presence here in the Twin Cities in the offseason has now ramped up considerably. Otherwise, I thought it was a pretty spirited practice for OTA session number 2. You know, just the competitive nature of it. I had a nice chat with Jeff Okuda after practice. He noted that. And so I thought that was pretty interesting for late in May. I did not expect to see some of the stuff we saw on Wednesday. Just, 7-on-7 and all that, and just how spirited it was, how competitive it was. I did not expect to see that for May 28th.
Love it.
The
Love
nickel
Jefferson.
corner blitz, boys. The nickel corner blitz did a 7-on-7. It was unbelievable.
It was fantastic.
It,
and JJ, hey, I'll tell you what, the arm strength is there. Like, it's not Sam Darnold, but JJ can wing it. And he told us after, hey, I'm willing to take some chances now. Now's the chance to see if I can squeeze in some balls through some windows. So, yeah, first throw, 7-on-7 interception. Okay, whatever. But, I was impressed just watching him wing the ball around on Wednesday.
Love it. And now the Vikings aren't hiding him from photos and videos and social media. Last year, they were systematically not putting photos of him in their Vikings.com photo albums, and now he's front and center. So,
he's absolutely front and center. Good work by Declan on Wednesday, noting that the Twins sent McCusker back down to St. Paul. All signs point to Byron Buxton being back in the lineup tomorrow in Seattle. Matt Wallner, yet another home run on his rehab assignment on Wednesday. I was told he had to play 2 consecutive games in the field. Well, he was in the field on Tuesday, DH'd on Wednesday. I don't know. He doesn't need any more at-bats. He told me the other day in the clubhouse he feels like he's ready to go. I'd like to think, I get it, it's May, but Seattle's pretty good. It's sort of a big weekend. I'd like to think that Wallner can also be back at some point this weekend, but certainly all signs point to Buxton being back with the Twins. He traveled with them to Tampa. He'll be in Seattle. Look for Buck back this weekend.
Darren Doogie Wolfson, 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. Dukes, we'll see you next week, buddy.
Okay, sounds good, boys. This package, where the hell is it? UPS.
We avoided it.
Who's worse at delivering, the Wolves or UPS?
Hey, UPS wants to
Judd here for UPS.
You know what?
That's right.
You know what? You don't disrespect Brown, man. UPS is always on the mark.
No, they're solid. It was one of those 9:30 to 10:30. We promise we'll be there 9:30 to 10:30. It's 10:42. It's not
the cable guy.
So
see you, dudes.
All good. Yeah. All right, boys. Have a good weekend. See ya.
All right, Minnesota Sports with Mackey and Judd. See you guys.